How you guys doing? My book talk is Toys by James Patterson. So for the introduction, Toys is genre is science fiction, thriller, and mystery. It was published December 1st, 2011. Similar books are Cross or The Zoo, which he wrote. I'd give it a 9 out of 10, and I'd recommend it to readers who are into lots of action investigations, along with lots of suspense that will bring you to your toes. And there are spoilers, a lot of spoilers. So for our exposition, so we have Hayes Baker. He's an elite. He's married to Elizabeth Baker. Him and his wife are some of the most well-known agents of elites. He lived in upper class society because he was an elite, and that's all where all elites lived. In elites compared to humans, the elites, they were in a womb for much longer. It was about 2 years longer than normal babies, so that's why they have a lot more capabilities. And also, in the beginning, Hayes and Elizabeth, they have a meeting with President Jacqueline, and they talked about 7-4 Day, which is a day that they want to exterminate all humans. So for our rising action, we have Hayes and Elizabeth are stopped by a skunk girl, otherwise known as a human. That's what they call them, as skunks. When they realize that the girl is trying to kill them with her crew, Hayes managed to kill, it was 3 of them, but the girl escaped, and he chased one down off of a 10-story building, and the bad guy, he died first, and he impacted Hayes' fall. So that made him end up in an elite hospital, in which Jax Moore and Owen McGill, those were his 2 buddies that he worked with in his agency. They found out that he was an elite, and they restrained him, but Hayes managed to escape. For our climax, we have Hayes was on the escape from the elites. Along the way, he took a stop at his parents' lake house to have a talk with them, and he suddenly realized there was a girl doing roofing on their house, and it turned out to be the girl in the beginning who tried to kill him. And his parents told him everything about how the reason he's a human, he's actually a genetic experiment. His parents engineered him to have the capabilities of elite so that he could blend in and gain intel so that they could prevent this 7-4 Day. Along with his sister, her name is Lucy, and just as they told him that, they were ambushed by Jax Moore, and his parents were killed, but Lucy and Hayes were able to escape. And for our falling action, we had Jax Moore captured Lucy and kept her under restraint. He used a manipulation device to try and get intel on what she knew, and he was basically trying to kill her to get it out of her. But Lucy managed to escape, and she threw a grenade at him and blew him up. And at that point, Hayes thought that Lucy had died, but turns out she was actually alive. Along with McGill, he ended up in an alleyway in the human slums and was killed by a big crew of them. So with those 2 out of the way, all they had was President Jacqueline to try and stop his plans for 7-4 Day. And Lucy had gathered with a guy named Tazak Khan, and he helped gather millions of humans to try and attempt to stop this mass genocide against them. And then we have a resolution. President Jacqueline devised a mass gathering of elites to plan for the 7-4 Day, or extinction of all humans, but it turned differently when Lucy and Hayes had led the humans' reign over the event, to try and kill Jacqueline and stop his evil ways. So they were able to capture him and they restrained him, and they broadcast it on live TV for elites and humans to see, and they used the same device that Lucy had been under, and they killed him to death. And then the humans were all happy about it, and all the bad plans to try and stop the humans had stopped, and the humans lived on happily. So for the protagonists and antagonists, we have Hayes Baker as the protagonist. This is because he was within the elite society for years until they found out he was a skunk. And he has the most intel on them as a human, and he's the only chance at defeating the elites before they kill off the entire human race. Then we have the antagonist. That's President Jacqueline, and this is mostly because of his plan to try and kill every human possible, and he hates them so much. So supporting characters, I'd definitely have to say Lucy is a supporting character, because without her, it would have been impossible for Hayes to try and make a plan to try and kill off President Jacqueline and stop all the elites from what they're doing. Hayes definitely couldn't have come up with all the plans by himself, and all the plans that Lucy had designed, they all worked. So I'd say like she's the mastermind behind it all. So then favorite characters, I have Lucy and Hayes. So Hayes, I said he's very charismatic, just like John F. Kennedy. That's why I put that there. I also like how he comes off very professional and at the same time is very funny. And then it gets into like his sex life, and he drinks a lot, but like he's really just a badass. It's kind of cool. And then Lucy, she almost kind of surpasses, I'd say, the abilities of Hayes. Like she's capable of a lot more than he can. Like she's a lot faster than he is, and I'd say stronger too. She's very quick-witted and trying to come up with plans to kill Jackson Moore and the other people, and they all worked. So, and then for the setting, this book takes place in the future, but the year is unknown. The book also takes place in many different places of the world, which include London's New Lake City, Washington, D.C., and even Mongolia. Story elements. So for the character arc, I talked about Hayes. He changed drastically. He went from hating humans because he had that elite perception, and that stereotype that they're just trash, and he just wanted them all dead. But when he found out he was a human and escaped to the human slums, he got to experience a human birth. He just got to live like a human, and that really kind of changed his perception a little bit, but he was still on the fence whether to hate or like him, but he didn't know. And towards the end, when his parents were killed, he really hated the elites and loved humans, and he ultimately put an end to the elite society, which shows that he really loved the humans and their lives. So for character archetype, I said Hayes is seen to fit the definition of two major character archetypes. The first one would be hero, and also lover. First off, for the lover, despite him being a human and his wife being an elite, he still loves her along with his kids, because his kids are elites too, because they were in artificial wombs. And despite like the hatred that his wife has for him, he still really loves her and his kids. In the book, he didn't end up killing them because he wanted them to live on. I'd also say the hero, because he really ultimately helped save the day, and he had the most intel, so he's the most help to the human society. So for narrative voice, Toys is written from the first-person perspective of Hayes Baker, in which you feel what he feels and know how he thinks. And it gives you a great feeling for the life of Hayes Baker, and you get to experience what it's like, in a way, to go through being restrained, maybe a sex life too, because there's a lot of sex scenes in the book, or even jumping out of an airplane. So for skills and takeaways, some questions I had. The book ends with knowing that President Jacqueline was killed and Elizabeth's memory being erased. The book didn't, however, tell us if all the elites had been killed, so would there potentially be a comeback for the elites to finish off their plans? Another question I have is what happened to Elizabeth's kids? It just ends off in the book without saying what happened to them, only Elizabeth. And also, does Hayes have contact with them or not? My last question is, would ultimately rule over human society now that they are united once again? So who would basically like be the president of the human society? Or would it be every human for themselves, I guess, so practice sustainable living. So for inferences, at the beginning of the book, it was my understanding that the humans were the problem in the world, but as Hayes had hands-on experiences with other humans, I saw that they weren't anything like what the elites had made them to be, which is them living a much simpler, better life and being much more kind towards others. Along with the technology, the elites had a lot more advanced technology, and the humans didn't. So they learned to kind of rely on themselves and not more so on technology. And then for writing style, this book would definitely have to be a narrative style writing. It's due to the fact that it comes from a first-person perspective of Hayes Baker's life, along with the book having many characters and conflicts seen along the way. The conflicts include elites versus humans, or even conflicts between Hayes and his wife with kids. There are also many internal conflicts within Hayes between which side to choose between elites or humans. Furthermore, there's also essential parts of the story in the beginning that you need to know to see why the bad guys or the elites need to be killed off. And then the most memorable moment, I would have to say the most memorable moment was when Hayes got to witness the teen girl, Shanna, giving birth in a raggedy old warehouse. He got to come into contact with the humans and have a real perspective of what they were thinking. It was also when Hayes realized that all humans weren't different and not all the same. The president made all the elites believe that the humans were all the same, which is seen as like they were basically scum. Which was really far off, and it was just ultimately incorrect. There were also some humans that were much like scum, but a lot of it had to do with because the elites were the reason that they lived in such bad places that made them that way. Okay, so for the last one, Menu Short 7, this book is a lot like Marxism, and I said it describes Marxism at its finest in that elites control everything. The first reason is because the elites plan for a mass extinction of humans, much like Adolf Hitler, I guess you could say, for the Jews. President Jacqueline has a plan for 7-4 day to kill off all humans. He believes that the only way society, aka elites, can progress in society is if humans were not in it. They believe that they ruin everything and think that the world would be better if they were erased. Furthermore, the elites control all production of their technology, and with the use of scientists to invent new things such as flying cars, mood helmets, and even Jessica and Jacob dolls made by the Toys Company. They feel that the humans do not contribute to help better the world, so they should all be eliminated in order for them to thrive better. Lastly, President Jacqueline is much like a dictator, in which he tells the other elites what they should believe, and it works. He follows through with what he wants and doesn't listen to the opinion of his citizens. In many aspects, Jacqueline can be compared to Adolf Hitler, like I said, which definitely shows how this is Marxism because the government controls everything, or him, or President Jacqueline. And then my mandatory conclusion, Toys by James Patterson. I predict that the humans will take control over the elites in the end, and my prediction was in fact correct. And I really liked the book because it was very action-packed with lots of shootings and killings. I also liked it because there were lots of mysteries and suspense as to what would happen next. And I'd give it a 9 out of 10 rating. And I think the murder mystery lovers would really greatly enjoy this book because they would it would more so be for the teens and adults. This is due to the profanity, the sexual content, and descriptions of blood that would have to be for a more mature audience. What makes this book good in my eyes is there's never any part that's boring. Every chapter makes you want to read more to try to and know what will happen next.